Well, now we need to go to the My Bill segment of the show. And before we do, I want to run the sponsor's video for this segment, which is Dan Darty's company, Model Railroad Resource LLC.
Welcome to the world of scale, O&S railroading. We are your resource for all O&S scale modeling. Both our magazines are advertiser supported and free to read online, download as a PDF, or even print. All advertisers are hot linked to their website, so if you see something you like, just click. Please check out our websites for the current issues. All back issues available free for the O-Scale Resource and the S-Scale Resource magazines. And, if you are a manufacturer, distributor, or retail establishment, please contact us through our website for advertising opportunities.
And now I want to introduce the host for this segment. Actually, it's co-host. It's Chris Course and Greg Cassidy. So, gentlemen, welcome.
Chris Course and Greg Cassidy. You out there, Greg?
Yep, I'm here.
All right.
Mostly.
All right. Looks like, yeah, I know. I got to be at work at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, so this is going to be a fun day tomorrow. All right. First up, we have Martin. You up, Martin?
I'm sort of here.
All righty. Looks like you've got 9 slides tonight.
That many. Oh boy.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. So this is one of my trolleys that was completed a couple of, well, 2 or 3 months ago now. This started off as a MacGregor kit collection of parts, not a complete kit. They came with the ends, the sides, the ends, the sides, and the ends of the roof. So the middle of the roof and the floor were missing. So everything else, and everything else you see, it's added beyond that. It came from me. So let's just go to the next slide. Yeah, there you can see the front better. So all the detail parts, all the grabs, all the stuff on the roof, all the pantograph and pieces and such. There's a full underbody, well, as full as I could guess with this particular car. So it's just a nice little freight motor. British Columbia prototype, as I recall, what the MacGregor kits were. But somebody handed me the parts, and I put it together. Or I fitted it together. The roof was the difficult part here, because you had to find a piece of wooden roof profile that actually matched the beautifully shaped curved ends and marry it all together. So there's a bit of a marriage of inconvenience here, but it worked out okay. Next slide, please. Yeah, there's a side view. So it's all the windows are all and doors are all glazed. And, just various different types of plastic, colored plastic or white plastic I had handy. You can see some of the underbody there. And it's powered. There's a power truck with, I believe, a pair of magic carpet drives underneath of it. So it's all under the floor. So there's no holes in the floor with a motor sticking up in the middle of the trolley. I really don't like doing using those drives otherwise. Probably not the right side frames, but I really don't care. I'm just happy to have something that makes it go around on the track. Next slide, please. And just the other end. And you can see the controls were I put controls in the cabs at both ends. There's fun painting up these little tiny control unit pieces and assembling them and sticking them in there literally in place from above before you put the roof on. Oh yeah, and the roof on this is put on with a pair of 2 3/8 inch after I got done cutting them down a little bit. Make it maybe 2 1/4 inch drywall screws. So there's actually a pair of screws coming up through the floor behind the vestibules on the inside into the roof, holding it all together. It's a bit of an adventure, holding the roof to the body, drilling a hole through the floor into the roof and making sure it all lines properly, and then threading the screw through it and hope that you hit the hole. So, you know, it only takes 3 or 4 hands, but it can be done. Next slide. This is a traction freight trailer that I also finished a couple of months ago. Well, within the last 3 months. This was a brass body shell. It had no doors, no roof, no floor, no trucks, no details of any kind. The ladders weren't there. Nothing was there except the brass body. So everything I've added a roof. Fortunately, I have roofing stock that worked just perfectly for this particular car. All the other parts are soldered on. The doors, though, are styrene, built up from lots and lots of pieces of styrene. There's a basic underbody, and I had a pair of brass trucks that were conveniently married to a pair of Athearn bolsters, which put springs in them, and they actually rolled half decently. So I was rather pleased with that. Next slide. And just another view of the same car from the other end. You can see the brake wheel on the box on the end of this in this photo. But there's got a brake cylinder complex underneath of this as well. And I actually lettered this one up, but I haven't been lettering very many cars because I haven't been sure whether I was going to keep them or not. But I like this one so much I went ahead and lettered it for my own Chambersburg, Greencastle, and Waynesboro system. So we'll keep this one. Next, if there is a next.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, there's the end. You can see the end. So yeah, you can see this really nice detail in the brass work on the anti-climber and the holding pockets, but the brake system is what I've added to it. So it's a really nice precision scale brake wheel and a gearbox behind it, and a little bit of chain that was linked into it just to complete the picture. And there's some roof mats up on the top. I think those are ancient Wagner parts. They're white metal. You just trim them to length and fold them down to conform to the roof contour, glue them down, walk away. They're done. Next slide. And there's the rest of the roof. You can see just wooden roof with tar paper, white napkin system over wood with lark dark gray and wooden walkway. That pretty much ended that car. It should be. I think that's all my slides. I hope.
Yep,
Nope,
I got
there's
one
the
more.
underbody. Well, the basic brake cylinder underneath of it. Nothing. There's nothing else really underneath there. There's scribed siding wood, needle beams which were made up out of styrene channel back to back with a piece of styrene in between them to give it a little extra thickness to support the queen posts. And those are brass wire truss rods. They're anchored near the they're anchored down back at the underneath. You can't see it. They're anchored down back towards the car bolsters. There's a little mounting pad that was soldered to the end of each piece of wire that's actually glued down in place. And a radial coupler added. So you want to go around real tight curves, you can do that with traction, even with big cars. And that maybe is the last slide.
Yeah, it is the last slide.
Hooray! I'm done.
Yay. Are there any questions for Martin?
Nice traction modeling, Martin. Really beautiful.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
I forgot to
usual.
mention the McGregor car was just published in the current issue of O-Scale Resource.
Very nice.
Thank you. And on to the next victim.
All right, I'm just typing this real quick here.
Just want to
Notes.
say I love the radial couplers.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not the nice cast ones from Q Car or Wagner or the these are the do it yourself version. It's a brass casting with that the KD will fit over with work. That brass casting is about 10% too big for a KD, despite advertised otherwise. So time with a Dremel, cutoff wheel, and a file, and they pop on eventually. And the KD's held on with a 256 screw. So they you got to have radial couplers to get around these corners.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But they work.
Oh yeah, these are functional. These are operational with the KD ones, as opposed to all the other commercial ones, which are they're dummy couplers and all the rest.
Yeah.
So these are, when I looked into finding these castings, I was rather pleased. So I have to figure out a way to replicate them or solder up something similar out of brass stock.
All righty. Any more questions or comments for Martin? All right. Fantastic work as usual, Martin. Thank you for sharing.
All right.
We will move on. Looks like Greg, you've got 16 slides. You up for that?
Oh, yeah, I am, but we'll get through them fast, Chris. Keep your finger on that arrow button.
All right. I think thought I put Ed in there too, but okay. All right. Maybe Ed came up after you. All right. Let's see here.
All right. A friend of mine gave all of this to me. It's a Craftsman Carolina Kits dorm house, one of their nice kits, and some of the Knox sexy scenes. He said, Greg, can you build me a house of ill repute? And I said, sure, I'll give it a try. And don't worry, this is purely G-rated, so you don't need to send the children away. Next. So the first thing I figured I had to do was figure out how I was going to work out the rooms on the second floor. So I needed to know where the windows were. So I made a little mock-up with all the windows showing where they were, and then started out on my floor plan. Next. One of the things that I had to get rid of was a second fire escape. The kit came with 2 fire escapes, and I didn't have room for that. So I filled one of them in with a big window, and the other fire escape I moved down to where the floor was going to be. Next. Once I got all the furniture, which included the furniture that came with the sexy scenes, plus some furniture I got off of eBay, I found that I only had enough room for 4 rooms, plus a bathroom and the stairs going downstairs. So that's how it all worked out. Next. So once I started building the kit, I realized I couldn't have any bracing inside the second floor because it was all going to be obvious. So I glued the kit together first. I made the second floor. And then after everything was glued together, I went ahead and started my staining and painting. I first put driftwood stain on the building. Next. Then I dry brushed on my favorite color, which I call Yuck. It's kind of a mix of a couple different things. And it doesn't really have any color, but once you put it on, especially if you put it on lightly, it looks like it's peeling paint. Next. Then I started working on the rooms upstairs, building the walls. I'd gotten some Tishy doors that would work for the interior doors, and I started laying everything out according to my floor plan. Next. Now, all of the rooms were going to have to be wallpapered, so I actually had my wife help me, and we looked up some Bordello wall prints, and I found a few. I sized them down and printed them out. Next. I also had to do some interior detail on the first floor, even though it wouldn't be as noticeable. So I put in a back wall and a bar, and it was going to have a lounge in the front area. Next. So this was once I started putting the wallpaper in place. It was pretty easy. I just cut the wallpaper to size and then glue it in with rubber cement and then cut out the holes for the windows. Next. Of course, if you go into this much detail, I had to put in all the baseboard around the flooring as well. That's just regular 1x1. Next. Then I started putting all my furniture in place. And I painted it all. That took a lot of the time. And then laying everything out, because each room was going to have some activity going on in it. Now, the office is supposed to be the madam's room, but one of the things he had gotten me, there was something going on the desk, so I had to have an office up there. Next. Now, one of the things I had to do was put curtains in, but often when you put curtains in a building, you can just print them out on paper, and it doesn't matter what they look like on the inside, but I had to have these look good on the inside and the outside, so I printed them on tissue paper and hung them up, and that way they work for looking from both sides. Next. And this is how it all got laid out before I put the figures in place. And it worked out pretty good. No, Bill, the interior walls, I just used 1/8 inch basswood. And next. Then, of course, all of the rest of the stuff that you do when you're building a model, putting the windows in, putting all of the details on the outside. I built the fire escape for the outside and added some details. This is the back of the building. Next. And then this is the front of the building. You have the front entrance, which leads into the lounge, and then a side door that leads into the bar area, and the back door, which leads right to the back stairs that go upstairs. And I asked him if he wanted any kind of marking or anything, and he said, no, where he's going to put it, everybody in the neighborhood knows what it is. So we didn't need anything on it. So that's my house of ill repute. And I delivered it to him a couple of weeks ago, and it's happily in place now. And the roof is easily removable for when he wants to show off the interior. And if you want to see what it looks like with the figures, go to my YouTube channel, Greg Cassidy's Workshop, and you can find it there. And you can actually see the figures in place.
Cool. All righty. Fantastic work. Once again, Greg. Are there any questions for Greg? Comments, concerns?
Greg, is that O scale?
No, it's HO.
Oh, darn it. It's nice and beautiful job. Beautiful job.
Well,
And
the
what's-
kit's available in O scale, and I wouldn't be surprised if those knock figures are as well. I don't know, though.
And what's the roof? It's just wood. and then
The
you've
roof,
done
I
that?
just used standard 1/8 inch basswood and then made some supports for it that fit right inside the gable ends. And then I covered it with some of that corrugated metal that I just rusted it using pigments.
Is this one of the kits that going back to O scale? Is this one of the Kershaw kits now?
Yeah, Jeff Grove's Carolina Craftsman kits, he spun off all of the O scale stuff to Kershaw. And I think Paul has put out this one as well as a few of the others. Whether he still has it available or not, I'm not sure.
Yeah, he was
But
on
it's
last
called the
week.
Laurel Bank Restaurant.
Uh-huh. Alrighty. Any more questions for Greg? Oh, thought I heard something, but okay. All right, thanks, Greg.
Well, thank you, Chris.
Hope you're feeling better. We'll move on to Cliff Flatten. Yep, Cliff. Thought I saw you earlier. Yeah, okay. I thought he was up earlier, but
I don't see
All
him
right.
at all.
yeah, okay. All right, we can go through his stuff. I know they're 1/64th, which is S scale, and this is more of the things that he's working on. He showed us some of these trailers in the past, and
I am
And-
here. I just
Ah,
couldn't
there
get
you are.
myself unmuted.
okay. All right, looks like you got 8 slides tonight.
Yep.
This one I just completed and just shipped it out. It's a mobile home that a young lady grew up in Montana when she lived with her grandma.
Hmm.
It's S scale, like all my other work. Basswood. The metal roof is the that silver plumber or silver tape they use for furnace ductwork. It's the most flexible, great stuff to use. Absolutely love it.
That's nice.
And this is another one. This one I am doing for a previous client. He's having it built for a friend of his. I got all the shutters with the tiny little pine trees cut in, and they came out really good. So I'm about 3/4 of the way done with this one. It's going to have an actual screen door in it. If you ever get those little gift bags of little candies or something like you get at a wedding, that screen is the perfect window screen for any model. I love to use it. And I thought, you know what? I found travel trailers in S scale, and I thought, you know what? I sold fifth wheels and travel trailers for years. I thought, let's try to make a fifth wheel trailer. So this one's like a 40-foot long fifth wheel trailer that I just mocked up out of cardboard. Came out kind of fun.
That's something.
Yeah. Actually, there's one not too far from here that looks a lot like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've been trying to
I
figure
mean,
out how to make it so I can have slide outs on it. And
well, yeah, I'm talking the wood part of it. It's quite something.
thank you.
Yeah. No, I mean on it.
Oh,
Actually.
oh yeah.
Somebody tried to redo it, and I'm like, "What are you doing?"
Oh Lord. Yeah. This is the Sinclair station that I'm working on. I was going to do a Conoco station in honor of my dad because he used to work for Conoco, but I got hooked on the Sinclair with the dinosaur. All the letters and the dinosaur are all cut out, painted, and then reinserted back into the sign. So it's like 1, 2, 3. It's a multiple piece sign. The station is all made out of the basswood that I like. Just kind of came out pretty good. I'm going to do another one, but I'm going to use a more high gloss paint because that's what that porcelain would have been instead of the satin finish that I have looking on it.
Huh. That's something.
And here is more work on the barn.
Yep.
That you guys saw last time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to make this, and still got to put some steps in and a few other things, but got to paint the roof. Don't want to leave it the brown, but all the X's on the door is my laser does such an awesome job. It's cardboard that I cut into my X's for my cross supports.
Huh.
And this is the Voyager Hotel that I'm working on. I live in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and I went down one night and I started shooting pictures of all of the decorative soffitting around the top. And again, I need to put more detail pictures in future ones, but they're quite a detailed little support that I got cut out. And just use my paper. I don't remember if I put this one on. This was one of my first big projects. It's a set of row houses that I did when I first got my laser printer. And it did just this. I love the detail I can do, like with the railing around the porch. It cuts it out, but it's super fragile when it's done. So painting it gives a little bit more strength, but this was a fun project. It got me a couple of commissions from a couple of the doctors at the hospital I work at once it was completed.
Huh.
Everybody said they wanted to move into it. This was one of my houses I did for a winter scene. Just used some of that fluffy angel hair stuff. It's a stucco house. I use sandpaper for the walls. This one I used Tichy windows before I started making my own windows. This was actually built before I got my laser cutter. But it just was a fun little project for winter.
All right, cool. Fantastic work as usual.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Cliff?
Cliff, what grit sandpaper did you use for your stucco?
That was, oh man, it was the fine. I think it was like a 220.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I went with the real fine. I've experimented with that textured spray paint that
Uh-huh.
you can get. I don't know. I didn't get great results. I like the sandpaper better.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've been toying a little bit with taskboard for stucco walls.
Oh yeah, I haven't tried that yet.
How's it working, Chris?
It's working fine. Well, I haven't done anything with it in a while. It works okay, but the thing you have to keep in mind is that you have to use a very, very sharp knife with it, because the taskboard, it's like I would say it's like working with very thick paper towels.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
it's hard enough that if you can get it, if you can cut it, it'll have a really nice effect to it. That church that I put out a few years back is made of that.
I'll be darned.
So, all right. Well, not to steal back from Cliff, but anyway, are there any more questions for Cliff? All right. Well, thanks for sharing, Cliff. And
You bet.
we will move on to. Oh, looks like you've got one more.
Oh, that was another experimental when I was trying my hand at trying to make a very contemporary house. I mocked it up with foam core, and I just haven't had the strength to try to do it again, because it's just a lot of weird angles and trying to get everything for it's going to be like a big tile style house.
Mhm.
With huge windows, but it was a trial to see what I could do at the time.
Cool. All righty. Well, thanks again.
Hmm.
Oh, holy
Oh.
mackerel. We've got a ton of last ones here.
This was a little cottage I made for a 30s 40s motor court that I was working on a year or so ago, and this just happened to be one of the little cottages that I built for it.
Huh.
I used that shiny corrugated paper that I get at Joann Fabrics to give me that metal roof, and discovered that I liked the other stuff better. It muted down a little better than this. It was a little too shiny. But I think that's the last one.
All right. Nope.
Oh no.
Well, we've got a bunch more.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Actually, are those all you? Yeah.
Yep. Those
All
are
right.
all me. That's
Okay.
my foam core days when I was first starting out making stuff and kept finding houses that I wanted to try, and Tichy windows on it again. And then that's one of my little lean-tos. I had a lot of requests for those. I just painted all the boards individually, and then I just chopped them up and made my wall.
Yeah, I did a project similar to that myself. I thought it was fun. Just
Yeah,
taking,
yeah, that was a lot of fun.
just purposefully throwing random colors at it and seeing what
Mhm.
happens.
Gives it a more unique look. And then this
Yeah.
is the overlook of the little city block I'm doing with the hotel and the little diner. And I haven't decided what the other buildings are yet. And then there's another shot of the barn.
Yeah.
And the Quonset after I gave it a little gray shot.
Yep, with the Sinclair gas
Yep,
station
with the
behind it.
Sinclair stuck in the middle now. Yep.
Cool.
I think that's the last one.
Yeah, I think so too. Because
Okay.
if I remember right, it was like, oh, this should be the last photo is kind of a culmination of everything. So
Right. Yep.
all right. All right. So once again, any questions for Cliff or comments? All right. Well, thanks, Cliff.
You bet.
All right, Bill Hawk, you up, Bill?
I am
So-
here.
All right. Okay. Looks like you have 10 slides. Hopefully, I didn't screw that up. And I think I need to apologize to Ed Katie because I think somehow his slides got missed. So Ed, we will get you first thing next month.
So this just a little backstory here. Bought a new house a year ago. It's got a basement large enough to put something in. So started a layout. So I've been working on it for 9 months. So got everything going. There's some track. Oh, that's scale, by the way. Combination of American model stuff and old flyer stuff. And anyway, so I'm an architect by trade, but I haven't modeled anything since by hand for 20 years or something. So I started out small, and I likened it to the primitive hut theory in architecture, where it's just basic shelter. So I started with this tiny little Monster Model Works engineer's tool shed. Go on. You can go to the next. So some of this is sort of standard here. Put the corners on the wall, get them glued in, and let it dry. Go to the next. Some of the standard stuff. Put the walls together, let it dry. Go to the next. Put the walls together. There's some bracing in the middle for the roof and for the walls, just a little bit. Go on. And then I was onto some painting and some weathering. This was cheap acrylic apple barrel Walmart. I don't know where I got it. Mixed up some color until I got what I wanted, and then I used the Tamiya weathering powder. I just scraped the white into some IPA, made a little mix, and that's what I used for the wash for the grout lines. Go ahead.
Yeah, that looks fantastic right there.
Yeah, these laser cut, I mean, the laser cutting is really, it's got a nice surface texture to it that you can't really fault too much. And then painted the sills and the base, sort of mucked up gray concrete color. Keep going. You can keep going. Window pieces again. These are frames on plastic. Cut them down to fit. Get them to work in the hole. Lots of filing and sanding and squeezing. This was the most fiddly bit. The canopy glue that I had didn't work, so I had to try something else, and finally got something to glue for that. I made that little extra step coming out from the door. I thought that would work better. The roof is the kit provides a piece of just gray chipboard. So that is black spray paint with the grout dust that comes off the exposed brick wall in my house. I sweep it off the floor and I have a little container of it and I spread that on there as to make the surface. The terracotta color for the wall cap didn't come out quite the way I wanted it, but it looks good. It works. You can keep going. Next, there we go. A low angle. You can see some of the relief detail in that brickwork. I tried getting the lineup of the corner bricks as best I could. That's probably the weakest area of these, like how those bricks carry around those corner pieces. They'll work on that. But it has these little rafters that stick out underneath the roof, painted those and stuck them in there. You can keep going. Next. And then when I was taking the pictures, you can see it in here, the light from my desk light, you could see into through the windows, and just the general room light you could see. So I decided to make a floor, and that was that last picture. And that's just tongue depressors cut up, scraped down, and weathered in that last picture for the floor. So inside, I didn't paint the inside of the model in any particular color, so you can see some light. I might decide to light it if I ever get into lighting that far along in my journey with the layout. That's the last one.
Yep. It's got the L at the bottom, so we're good. All right. This is quite the just Monster Model Works puts out some great stuff, and I think that makes it easier on the modeler to do a great job, and this is no exception. This came out fantastic.
Yeah, Bill, that's a great job that you did. I think Jimmy Simmons does some of the best brickwork in the industry, and I've had to match up those corners, and they're not easy to do. You've done a good job there.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for Bill? All right. Well, thanks, Bill. Thanks for sharing. First timer.
Yes.
So that's much appreciated.
Welcome.
All right. And now we'll move on. Jeff Jordan, looks like you got 13.
Yep, they're groups though.
All right.
This is continuing in my Colorado adventure and my inspiration coming home from Colorado to get to work on Colorado scenes. And so I visited this location, though there's nothing there today except grassy fields, to work on Lizard Head. And so there's a prototype photo of the area I was looking for. And you've previously seen my snow shed, but I wanted everything else in this picture. The section house, which is prominent in the photo, and then hidden just behind the goose there is a speeder shed. And though this area was photographed like crazy, nobody ever took a close-up picture of the speeder shed. So I had a challenge to model the speeder shed. Next, please.
Yeah, that was you had basically two that were fairly similar.
Yeah, I'm having a little problem. There we go. Okay, that's the other one. Now that's a black and white photo. Again, you can see a bit of the speeder shed in the back there. And that was a challenge. I went through book after book after book looking for the speeder shed until I got enough of a look at the speeder shed that I could estimate the dimensions to build a model of it. And of course, there's a challenge on the section house. Notice the texture of the walls there. They think those were made out of bridge timbers. And so I wanted to try and capture the texture of the bridge timbers. And so somewhat unusual, but I used balsa wood for the side because balsa has got a much more rugged surface than the basswood, which would have been much too smooth. So turn the page. Incidentally, here we go. I spent a lot of time anticipating the construction of this model, trying to collect materials. And you can see how the balsa wood there has given it a nice rugged texture on the sides. The windows are from Tichy. The chimneys are from Grantline. The roof is printed paper from Clever Models, but I have painstakingly put vertical cuts between the shingles to give them a little bit more emphasis. The side of the building was actually an adventure as well to try and get that washed out paint effect. The balsa wood, before it got assembled, was stained with Hunterline gold, golden oak stain, something to give it a yellowish woody color, and then overpainted with heavily thinned Depot Buff, which is the appropriate color for. And as you see the different sides, you'll see there's a lot of variation in the Depot Buff, and more wood or less wood showing through on the sides. You'll also notice that the ends there are log cabin style notched. And so each piece of balsa wood had to be notched in that fashion. There's about 10 courses of quote unquote logs there to build up the walls. And it takes about 13 separate pieces on each course because of the cuts for the windows and doors. Next picture. I think we've got some more sides of this building.
Yeah.
There we go. There's the south end with the lizard head sign. And in the later years, so this building at one time was described as a depot. I can't imagine that they picked up or dropped off a lot of passengers at Lizard Head Pass. It's in the middle of no place. The only thing that was there were some livestock pens. So maybe the drovers hung out in the station waiting for the train or something. But eventually it became the section chief's home. And so his wife did a little bit to decorate it, and the photograph shows some curtains. So we've got some tissue paper curtains in the window. The lizard head sign is actually made with decal paper, and I printed my own lizard head decals to letter the sign. And again, notice lots of grain in the wood and a variation in the stain. And those are the two sides that are easy to model. The other two sides are much less frequently photographed, but I found the 1963 issue of Model Railroader had a plan for this building and showed all four sides. Next side, I think, is the north side of the building. Here you go. And again, you can see the north side gets more weather, so it's even more beaten up looking. And we've got a platform there. The little shed in front, again, nobody took a picture of the building from this angle. So there's a debate whether that shed just opens into the building or whether there was a door on the outside, or even what it was for. Some people think it may have been to hold coal for heating, but it's not clear. And in any event, it's there. And I made my own board and batten siding to do that. This is one of my forays into wood scratch building. You've seen my past efforts in evergreen styrene, but for the rough texture of this building, nothing else but wood would do. Next slide, please. I think the next slide is probably going to be the speeder shed.
Yep.
Which I had to, from some photographs, there she goes, the speeder shed, find photographs that I could estimate the scale of the building off of. And then it's entirely stick built. The sides and the boards on the top there are coffee stirrers. The doors are some Mount Albert scale lumber. And of course, the whole thing is stained. And you can see in the pictures, it was never painted, and it has a little deck out front. And since I've completed this, there's now a track speeder sitting on that deck. Keith Weissman makes a really nice model of a track speeder appropriate for 1920s, 30s, 40s. And so it's parked in front of the open door now. Next slide. The roof was very hard to determine what it was made of. But there are very few color pictures of the structure. And in one of them, it was quite shiny. So, and it appeared to be, again, some sort of board and batten construction. So I did board and batten, and then it's silver, but then heavily weathered with weathering powders. And again, I think it compares favorably with the prototype photos. And, you know, the great secret of wood modeling is how much you can do with coffee stirrers. I think that siding came out really well. And all that is from a box of 1,000 coffee stirrers from Amazon. Works out to like less than a penny a board. Next slide. I give you the other thing that is present at, or was present at Lizard Head, was a great deal of snow fence. And there's some snow fence. And that, of course, is just scratch built from boards. And since my railroad is in the summertime, I decided that they were out doing some repairs. So there's a couple of fresh boards on the repair of the snow fence. Otherwise, it's, again, just scale strip wood, heavily weathered with either driftwood, I think, as opposed to the Thai brown. And again, gave a really nice, and I'm pretty sure the Model Railroader article had the plans on how to make the snow fence. So I got a section of snow fence in place there. And then now, ever since the photographs were taken, I've actually begun to put some real scenery in there. Next slide. I think the next slide is probably an overview of all the things in place.
No, it's another snow shed. Or
Oh.
snow fence.
More snow fence?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just showing the snow fence from the back and how it goes together.
Seems like quite a delay tonight.
Yeah, it does look a little snow flipping over now. But I could have had miles, but that's what would fit. And so you can see the assemblage in there and just the rough beginning of the scenery starting in there. But everything in the scene is scratch built. Over on the left, the snow shed, the speeder shed, the section house, but for the windows, doors, and chimneys, and the snow fence. Also, I decided this is one of the few places on the railroad where the track actually is higher than the ground and the structures. And so elsewhere, my scenery comes right up to track level, but here there actually will be some elevation and a little bit of ballast. This was actually the high point on the railroad. You could go north and lose elevation, or go south and lose elevation. And so the snow shed was actually there to cover a Y, so they could turn the helper engines in the winter when there was snow on the ground. Also, they could turn the rotary snowplow, because rotary snowplows don't back up real well. So they had a huge covered Y. And at one time, the snow shed actually extended all the way across the area in the picture, and the station and the speeder shed faced a hole in the snow shed. But about 1940, the south end of the snow shed burnt down, and they never rebuilt it. And so that's about my era. And plus, it's easier to see the buildings that way. And I may go back, actually, in the late period, the shingles started to fail, and they covered part of the roof with tar paper. And so I, up at the Pittsburgh at the convention, I picked up some tar paper. So I may partially tar paper the roof, but here we are at Lizard Head. I'm really happy how this came out. If you compare it to the prototype photos, I think it really captured the spirit of Lizard Head, which is one of the prominent points on the Rio Grande Southern Railroad.
Yeah, I think with the balsa wood, you really nailed the effects of the wood, the aging, and how it was rough cut back then.
Yep. Yeah, it's an usual finished construction material for model railroad structures, but here, this was exactly the right place for it. And I've got a bunch of leftover balsa wood. I don't know what I'm going to do with it.
Make an airplane with it.
Yeah, but when I bought and was checking out at Hobby Lobby with several packages of balsa wood, and the guy at the cash register says, "Oh, you're building model airplanes?" I said, "No, it's actually for my model railroad."
Great
Alrighty.
looking models, Jeff. I was just wondering, is that American Models Flex Track, and whose roadbed is that?
The track is micro scale. You can see the really tiny spikes, and the roadbed is Woodland Scenics foam, which was new for me for this layout. All my locomotives on this layout have sound, and I really like to have the roadbed as a result be really quiet and not transmit any sound. And I found that using the foam roadbed works really well. I glue it down with DAP Alex caulk, which drives hard but flexible. So the junction between the roadbed and the sub wood there stays flexible. And then the track is actually glued to the foam roadbed as well, which makes her very quiet operating properties. And if you change your mind and want to change anything, you can take a paint scraper and lift the track without destroying the foam. And you can lift the foam from the wood without destroying the foam.
Nice.
Well,
Great.
beautiful modeling.
Thank you.
Wasn't one other question, the Galloping Goose in your first photo, isn't that running at the Colorado Railroad Museum now?
Yeah, they're actually amazingly, there were 7 geese, and 6 of the 7 exist today at various railroad museums. They have one at the Colorado Railroad Museum. They have one in Dolores, Colorado, which I saw this summer, and it sits on 100 feet of track, but it's in operating condition. And during the course of the season, they'll pick it up on a flatbed truck and take it either to Durango and run it on the Durango or Silverton, or over to Chama and run it on the Cumbres and Toltec.
Huh.
And there's one of them is out in California at Knott's Berry Farm as well.
Yeah, I think there's pretty sure there's one at Strasburg also.
Yeah,
The
like I said,
railroad
6 of them
museum.
exist, which is pretty remarkable considering the history of the railroad and its circumstances, that all but one goose was preserved.
Hmm.
And subsequent to taking these pictures, I got out. I have a precision scale goose with the Wayne bus body. And as you saw in one of the original photographs there's a photo of that goose parked in front. And so I took a picture with it parked right in front. And I no comparison to the prototype photo. This what I'm doing is I don't have that big layout, but I'm trying to have a couple of vignettes of prominent spots on the Rio Grande Southern, and this is one of them.
Well, it looks great. Chris, this to me, this is exactly the kind of modeling that you wanted done in your idea for the new segment on the show.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, this is just fantastic.
Thank you. I'm really, really pleased with how this came out. Mm.
Well, and particularly to get it to look that close to the actual prototype. And, with a couple of scenes like that on a model railroad, it doesn't have to be a huge model railroad to really be appreciated.
What I do on my layout is I actually have photographs of the prototype location and the model. And I've
Yeah.
got 3 places now where I've got that. No, this is the best one so far, is Lizard Head. I also have Vance Junction. You've seen the Vance Junction coaling tower previously. And I'm also working on some of the buildings at Ophir. And though I couldn't model the Ophir Loop, I have some of the buildings at Ophir and going up the hillside and a photograph of that location. So people can look at my model and look at my inspiration with the prototype.
Great idea.
Very cool. All right. Are there any questions for Jeff? Well, thanks for sharing once again, Jeff. It's much appreciated, and this is food for thought for some people that are contemplating doing some projects.
Super. Thank you.
All right. Oh, looked like you had one more. Yep, there's your galloping goose.
Yep. I didn't remember that. I guess I sent that one to you late because I liked it so much. So compare that with the prototype photo at the start, and you got the goose stopped at Lizard Head, probably to put water in the radiator. After climbing up from Ridgeway, it would boil a lot of water.
All righty. Well, thanks, Jeff. And our second new entry or new person of the night, Steve Montgomery. You up, Steve? All right. Sounds do you see him out there, Pat?
No, I do not.
Okay. All right. All right, so we will go on with what we know. I believe this is a picture of him with his switching layout, and I believe that's HO scale. It's a time saver. I don't know if that's John Allen or not. I think the John Allen has 3 tracks on it. But anyway, all right. So in going through these slides from, he didn't really send us much information, but it looks like there's a bunch of Ambroid stuff on here. And this one may be a little bit, I don't think it's quite an Ambroid because I'm looking at the doors. It looks like it's got a plastic roof. These have a plastic roof on them.
Chris, he models kits from the 60s.
Okay.
And all of his kits, all that he builds are wood kits, but they're old kits, by manufacturers who may not be or a lot of them are
Like the-
Android. I think there's a Gore line and, some of those old kits.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, because I'm thinking that this might be a Red Ball or something
Yeah.
along those lines.
Yeah.
Or it might be the old Huff and Puff stuff.
Could
All
also
right.
be Campbell kit.
True, yeah.
Yeah.
Here we have some couple of cars. This is an Ambroid snowplow.
Well,
That I know. Because that's looks like he did a heck of a job on that kit. Because that kit I've looked at it and I've kind of attempted little bits and pieces of it, but it's a tough kit. Particularly around the plow.
it is a very tough kit. No question. Yep.
Beautiful locomotive in the background too.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I believe this is a helium car. Is that correct?
I think so. And I think
You-
that's Android.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
these- What's that?
that's an Ambroid kit, the helium car.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And then Von Allman Pickle Company. I think I've got one of those kits around here somewhere. I think
Yeah.
that might also be an Ambroid.
It is. And some of these, I think, are those old 1 of 5,000 kits that Ambroid came out with way back.
Yeah. And then let's see,
That is too.
photograph car. I think this, I'm wondering if this might be a roundhouse.
I don't know.
I've seen it somewhere. Actually, you know what? I'll bet you it's a red ball. Because it's fairly similar to another kit that I have that's a red ball. It's a fruit car.
Yeah, I think you may be right. That
And then this, I don't have a clue on this one because it looks. I wonder if maybe this is a Funaro, an FNC car.
don't know. I do not know.
Not sure on this one.
Yep.
Poultry car.
Yep.
Those poultry cars are pretty sure that's an Ambroid also.
Yes.
All right. So that was kind of quick, but some nice modeling there. Thanks for sharing, Steve. Hopefully you just were having some connection issues or whatever and couldn't get on. But anyway, the next My Build is not September 18th because that was tonight. The next My Build is the October Challenge or layouts, finished, in progress. Switching layouts, modules, dioramas, whatever you can make fit into those categories. Whatever you're working on, please share them. That show will be October 16th. Please email me your photos to railrunner130@hotmail.com. And please get them to me by October 13th. That way I can get them in. I apologize to Ed Katie. He sent me stuff today and I got the information in, but I didn't get the pictures to into the slideshow. So that's my fault. I apologize for that. And we'll be sure to get Ed next time around. Then after the October 16th, the next regular My Build will be November 20th.
Yeah.
So thanks to everybody that participated. Here is the list of My Build challenges. November will, of course, be the free-for-all. December will be interiors because everybody's going inside this time of year or that time of year. The insides of buildings, engine houses, caboose interiors, that sort of thing. Then, of course, back to January, we've got a free-for-all where anything goes. February, the kit bashes, scratch builds, those sorts of things. We've got, I think we've got that pretty well handled. I think we've got a lot of people that like to do a lot of kit bashing and scratch building. So I think that ought to be a pretty popular show. Again, March, will be a free-for-all. And then in April, we've got the automation, animation, make it move. Whatever you can do to get your railroad people moving. That should be a good show. May again will be a free for all, and then June we're back to water. So and as with anything, whatever you've got that can fit into any of those categories is excuse me, is more than welcome. So anyway, thanks to everybody that participated tonight. And if you have not participated, we highly encourage you to participate. Just make sure that you include basically a brief description of what you're, excuse me, of what you're modeling, and be sure to include a photo of yourself if you have not participated in the past. So anyway, I will turn it back over to you, Jim. I believe that is it.